Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 17th of November and we are going to discuss three very important topics which are currently running in news. The first topic here is Pradhan Mantri Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Groups PVTG's Development Mission. Around 24,000 crore rupees have been allocated for this mission. What is this mission? Is it a new scheme in itself? No, it is not a new scheme in itself. Actually, whatever schemes have been run by the government already, let's suppose there is this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or there is this Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, or Jal Jeevan Mission. Special focus will be done on the PVTGs, that is particularly vulnerable tribal groups, which are, most vulnerable among the STs. Government has identified around 75 tribal groups as PVTGs. In this year's budget also, the Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman announced special focus on PVTGs. She announced Saptarishis, 7 pillars, and one of the pillars was reaching the last mile. Last mile means poorest of the poor, and PVTGs are one among the categories in that last mile. So the government is delivering on its budgetary promises which it made and has launched this mission. The details we'll see about this. Then the Financial Inclusion Index. Per se, this was not in news, but yes, this is a concept. The financial inclusion is a concept which every aspirant should be aware of. This index is released by RBI every year, and this year in the month of September it was released. It clearly shows that financial inclusion is improving in the country. So what is financial inclusion? When maximum amount of people, particularly poorest of the poor people, have access to financial services. Which financial services? Financial services like banking, credit, insurance, pension, and such like. So that is, we'll see what is there, what the government has done with respect to financial inclusion in the country. Then next is Indian Post Payment Bank. It is a payment bank, not a full-scale bank. But in March this year, the head of the Indian Post Payment Bank said that we want to upgrade ourselves to a full-scale bank. Indian Post Payment Bank was opened in the year 2018, and it has been working, I would say, very efficiently. It has covered a lot of people under its net. Banking services are being provided, which simply means that financial inclusion is improving. So both these topics can be considered as interconnected, but we'll first understand the concept of financial inclusion and then we'll go to this concept of payments bank. Payments bank is different from a full-scale scheduled commercial bank. What are the difference? We will see. UPSC has asked a question on payments bank earlier in prelims. It does not mean it will not ask in future as well. So let's get started. The Pradhan Mantri Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Groups Development Mission. Particularly vulnerable tribal groups are those tribal which are the most deprived. The government of India for the very first time identified these PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, in 1970s. At present, there are around 75 tribal groups which are considered as PVTGs. So for the development of those PVTGs, this development mission is there. Is this a new scheme in itself? No, it is not a new scheme in itself, but we can understand it in such a way that already existing schemes or missions like Jal Jeevan Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Ujjwala Yojana or Gramin Sadak Yojana, those will be emphasized particularly in those areas where PVTGs are living. We have to achieve 100% coverage in critical infrastructure like connectivity projects, like healthcare, like education for those PVTGs. Already existing schemes are there. Their implementation will be made more efficient. More funds will be allocated if there is, I would say, a gap in funds. But a special focus will be on PVTGs so that their upliftment can be done. This mission definitely and purely and truly justifies the concept of equity. You have to focus more or give more to the more vulnerable or more deprived. The government of India announced about this, basically the finance minister announced about this in this year's budgetary speech, that our focus will be on PVTGs this year. There will be increased allocation for them. Actually, this year's budget had Saptarishi model. Saptarishi means 7 pillars where the government of India wants to focus. One of the 7 pillars was reaching the last mile. And last mile was in context of the most vulnerable section of the society. The PVTGs are one section among the most vulnerable sections of the society. So this mission has been launched for them. So let's get into the details of this. Actually, this mission was launched by the Prime Minister on the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda. He was a tribal leader during the Britishers. He has led a revolt against the Britishers because Britishers, I would say, revenue policies were quite oppressive on the tribals. So on the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda, which is also known as Janjatiya Gaurav Divas, this mission was launched. Who are PVTGs? PVTGs are more vulnerable among the tribal groups. Means tribal group and the most vulnerable section among the tribal groups are called as PVTGs. Out of 705 scheduled tribes in India, 75 have been identified as PVTGs and are spread across 17 states and 1 union territory. Government of India follows the following criteria for PVTGs. First is pre-agricultural level of technology they are using, low level of literacy, economic backwardness, and a declining or stagnant population they are having. So these 4 criteria the government of India is using for identifying any group among the tribals as PVTGs. History: in 1975, the government of India initiated for the very first time, and this category was formed or identified PVTGs. At that time, we declared 52 such groups as PVTGs, and additional 23 groups were added to the category in 1993. Some examples of PVTGs: Chola Naikayan in Kerala, Kathodi in Gujarat, the Jarvas in Andaman and Nicobar Island, Koraga in Karnataka. So 75 groups are there, 75 tribal groups are identified as PVTGs. Do you need to memorize? Do you need to know? No, no need to memorize that which group or which tribal group is a PVTG. About PM PVTG Development Mission, 24,000 crore fund has been separately allocated for it. This was announced in the budget also. So the government has delivered on its budgetary promises. It has been designed to bring critical infrastructure like power, water, road, connectivity, housing, education and healthcare to the PGTV communities. Under the scheme, about 11 interventions like Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, which was already there, Pradhan Mantri Gram Awas Yojana already there, Jal Jeevan Mission already there. Means already existing schemes are there, but now in these schemes there will be special and additional focus for the PVTGs. In addition, saturation will be ensured. Saturation means 100% coverage will be ensured for schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. This is Ayushman Bharat scheme, which is kind of a health insurance. Sickle cell disease elimination program, TB elimination, 100% immunization, PM Surakshit Matritva Yojana with respect to pregnant ladies. So all these, Jan Arogya Yojana, sickle cell disease elimination, TB elimination, immunization, Surakshit Matritva Yojana, Matra Bandhan Yojana, all these are, I would say, related to healthcare. PM Poshan with respect to nutrition. PM Jan Dhan Yojana with respect to bank accounts, means financial inclusion. So additional focus has to be done for the PVTGs in the already existing schemes. 24,000 crore, maybe this amount is the lack of funds in this scheme which are not letting the PVTGs get the benefit of these schemes. So government is putting in these extra funds so that we can lay emphasis or extra emphasis or special emphasis for the PVTGs. Financial Inclusion Index. Now we should first understand the meaning of this word financial inclusion. Most of the aspirants generally understand it to be as access to banking services. No, it is incomplete. Financial inclusion is access to banking, credit, insurance, pension, investment, these kind of financial services. Now, if these financial services are available to the people, means to the poorest of the poor or to the most vulnerable section of the society, means the society is financially included. Does financial inclusion have any benefits? It has many, many benefits. It helps us in reducing poverty, hunger, because if the people will be having bank accounts, they will be receiving subsidy directly in their bank accounts now. If the people want to do any business, small businesses, they can have access to credit. If the people fall ill, they have insurance. During their old age, people have access to pension. So all these are, benefits which definitely help, individuals, particularly the most vulnerable section of the society. The Financial Inclusion Index is released by RBI every year. And this year's finding says that around 60% of financial inclusion has been done in the country. Last year, this figure was around 56%, and it was around 46% or 43% in 2017. Means financial inclusion is on a rise in the country. So let's get into the details of this. The RBI's FI index, a measure of financial inclusion, reached 60.1 in March 2023. 56.4 in March 2022 it was, 43.4% during its pilot in March 2017. FI is the process of guaranteeing that all individuals and marginalized groups have access to affordable and suitable financial services. Which financial services? Basically, banking, investment, insurance, credit, and pension. These financial services. The range of financial inclusion is 0. Complete financial exclusion is there, means nobody has access to these financial services. 100 means complete financial inclusion, people have access to at least one of these financial services. Now, this index has been constructed without a base year. The study tracks 97 indicators and categorizes them into 3 sub-indices: access, usage, and equality. Access 35%, usage 45%, and equality 20%. Significance of financial inclusion: promoting economic and sustainable growth, reducing poverty and inequality. I mentioned already how it has helped or it will help in reducing poverty and inequality. Promoting economic and sustainable growth means if someone wants credit to do any business, they can have access to easy credit. Then empowering marginalized groups, fostering innovation and small businesses to grow. Challenges are there in ensuring financial inclusion. Rural areas lack infrastructure, leading to financial illiteracy. Then there are procedural complications, hidden charges, because when people go to the banks to take loans or pensions or any I would say financial services, there are some hidden charges or there are some, I would say, procedural complications which actually make them divert towards, I would say, open market, where individuals, they are lending money lenders, and obviously that is, I would say, unsecured lending, which will not be equivalent to, I would say, financial inclusion, because that person is not taking that credit from a financial institution. Instead, is taking credit from an individual. That individual is registered nowhere. That loan taking is not regulated by any authority as well. So that is kind of the challenges in financial inclusion. Initiatives taken by the government. Banking initiatives. Regional rural banks have been opened, priority sector lendings, where government has identified 7-8 sectors like education, healthcare, environment conservation and all as priority sectors. So that 40% of the lending has to be done to priority sector lending only. Business correspondents have been there which go and deliver banking services. No frills account means zero budget, zero balance accounts have been opened. KYC relaxations have been done for many people. JAM Trinity, that is Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, has been done. Establishment of payment banks and small finance banks are there. Establishment of Mudra Bank, which is giving loans for doing businesses. Then self-help group bank linkage program, National Center for Financial Education, all these have been opened. Social security initiatives, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, accidental insurance, this is life insurance, Atal Pension Yojana, this is pension insurance, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana for opening bank accounts. These are there. Then this Indian Post Payments Bank opened in 2018, 5 years into existence, working fine, have opened or have included many people, especially in the rural areas, into the financial net. This, financial inclusion, I would say, initiative by the government is being taken due to the widespread network of India Post. In March this year, the head of the Indian Post Payment Bank released a statement and said that we now want to upgrade ourselves to a full-scale bank from a payments bank. There's a difference between payments bank and full-scale bank, and the major difference is that payments banks are not allowed to give credit loans, issue credit cards to people. They're only for depositing money, and that too up to a certain limit, that is more than 2 lakh rupees, cannot be there in a payments account. It can transfer money. It can, I would say, give you other banking services or financial services except credit. So let us look into the details of India Post Payment Bank. Completed 5 years. Origin 2018, was established under Department of Posts, Ministry of Communication, with 100% Indian government equity. It is licensed by RBI. Since it is a payment bank, any kind of bank is licensed by RBI under Banking Regulation Act of 1949 to operate as Payments Bank of India. It provides a variety of products: savings accounts, current accounts, remittances, money transfers, Aadhaar-enabled payment systems, but no credit. Vision: the goal is to establish a bank that is easily accessible, affordable, and trustworthy for the common man in India. Mandate: to promote financial inclusion by eliminating barriers and lowering the cost of accessing banking services. Achievement of IPPB, Indian Post Payment Bank: over 6 crore accounts have been opened across the country with 96 lakhs in aspirational districts. 1.90 lakh postmen and Grameen Dak Sevaks have been equipped with smartphones and biometric devices. Why? Because they can deliver banking services using this digital infrastructure. The post office's network, Pan India, has expanded to 1.55 lakh banking access points. So this already widespread network of the Indian postal system was there. So the government is using or banking upon this widespread network, because in far-flung rural areas also we can see a post office or postal services over there. Then when postal services are there, the financial services can be reached through those post office. Challenges: private companies, low financial literacy among the people, poor infrastructure in rural areas are major challenges faced by the businesses. What are payment banks? They operate on a smaller scale without involving any credit risk. Set up on the recommendations of Nachiket More Committee. Widen the spread of payment and financial services to small businesses, low-income households, and migrant labor workforce in a secure technology-driven environment. Means transfers and all can be done, but no credit. They are registered under Companies Act. This is noteworthy, but are governed by a host of legislation such as Banking Regulation Act 1949, RBI Act 1934, FEMA Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Anyone or any entity who wants to establish a payment bank needs 100 crore rupees paid up capital. For example, Airtel Payments Bank is there. So, 100 crore rupees has to be there with them. Multiple payment bank, like Indian Post Payment Bank, had to have this 100 crore rupees with them as paid up capital initially. Activities that can be performed by a payments bank. By now we know that it cannot issue credit or it cannot issue loans. But yet let's see what it can do. First of all, if you open a bank account in a payments bank, you can deposit maximum of rupees 2 lakh in that. It can accept demand deposits in the form of savings, and current accounts can also be opened. Now, whatever amount you have invested, around 75% of that amount, can be invested in SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. This ratio is a kind of ratio which is mandated for the banks to keep aside so that liquidity is maintained. That is a secure investment, and payment banks can invest this much in SLR. The remaining 25% is to be placed as time deposits. Time deposits is like FDs and all with other scheduled commercial banks. Payment banks cannot issue FDs. Time deposits it cannot issue, but whatever amount it is receiving in the bank accounts of the people, 25% of that amount can be invested in time deposits like fixed deposits and all in other banks, in other scheduled commercial banks. They cannot have their own FDs. They cannot issue FDs. It can offer remittances services, mobile payments, transfers, purchases, and other banking services like ATM, debit cards, net banking, third-party fund transfers, etc., etc. All these can be done. Activities that cannot be performed by them. It cannot issue loans or any credit cards also. It cannot accept time deposits or NRI deposits, time deposits like FDs and all. It cannot accept. It cannot issue. That is why it is investing 25% of the money of the people in time deposits issued by other scheduled commercial banks. Scheduled commercial banks means full-scale banks like SBI, ICICI and all. It cannot set up subsidiaries to undertake non-banking financial activities. These things it cannot do. So this clarity must be there that what is a payment bank, what is a scheduled commercial bank. We've seen this through this India Post Payments Bank, I would say, topic. So this is it from today's session. We've covered one topic with respect to PBTGs, we've covered financial inclusion, and we've covered payment banks. I will now be meeting you tomorrow with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.